What's up YouTube? Austin coming at you with Vaporleaf.com. Today we're going to be talking about subtanks. All of them. Or at least all the ones we carry. So subtanks are something that really is a new occurrence for the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. But it's something that's growing very quickly and has definitely found its own little niche in the market very, very quickly. So since they're all basically the same, there's going to be a lot of talk as to which one's the best, which one's different, which one does this, which one does that. But in the end, to pick one up, to use one and experience yourself, it's basically the same. So I'm going to kind of go through these a little bit, mention a few little differences between them, and then fill a coil for you guys, or prime up a coil for you guys so you can kind of see how it goes. So let me just kind of walk you through the ones that we have at the moment. And we'll go from there. So to start off with, we have the SmokTech VCT tank. This is kind of the best tank for in-between stuff. The people who are going from like an aero tank or a Nautilus or something like that, and they want to go to a sub-ohm experience, but they don't want that much vapor, that angry of a vape, this is probably going to be the perfect tank for you. It spits out a lot more vapor than what, once again, an aero tank or a Nautilus would, but at the same time you're not going to get quite the heat level or the vapor production of some of these other tanks. I've been running this right around 20 to 30 watts, right around in there, and you can get decent performance out of it. The coil takes a little bit to kick in. That's one thing that I've noticed with a lot of these coils is the first half tank to even 2 or 3 tanks later, flavor and vapor production really doesn't quite kick in right off the bat. They've, even after priming them and everything like that, they've just got to be used a little bit before everything really breaks in. So the SmokTech VCT, if you're just getting into it, you're not really sure how much the big vapor production and everything is your thing or not, this is a great tank to start out with. It's a cheap tank too, so not going to break the bank on that guy. Jumping up to the subtank series. So we've got the subtank nano, 18mm device, 3.5 mils, somewhere around there. The subtank mini, I believe 4.5 mils. We've got, and this is a 22mm device, so anybody using 22mm or something where it fits really flush on a 22mm, probably going to be the tank for you. For people who want a little bit more than that, we've got the full size. This one does have the screws on top that you have to remove to do the rebuildable section and everything. Most of the subtanks other than the nano do come with a wealth of goodies. We're not going to get into that today. This is going to be a 5mm tank on the full size, and then the plus, which is going to be a 7mm tank. And it doesn't have those screws on the top. You can just throw a rebuildable section in there. The mini and the plus are going to have the same rebuildable section, whereas the full size is going to have one a little bit closer to like a K-Fun style. So that's going to be the subtanks. Those come with either a 0.5 ohm coil or a 1.2 ohm coil. They do also have new nickel coils, which I believe are running a resistance of 0.15. The resistance doesn't quite matter as much when you're running in temperature control, runs a little bit differently there. Next step from there, we have the Atlantis tanks. We've got the Atlantis version 1. Subtanks. Those with the 1.2 ohm coil, I've been running those right in between like 12 to 20 watts. The 0.5 ohm coil, I've been running, me personally, I've been running at 25 watts. Some people have been running it a little bit lower at 20 watts. I found 25 watts is perfect. After the first couple weeks, when it starts to kind of die out on you a little bit, I start bumping up the voltage. Usually after about the second week, I'm bumping it up to 28 watts. Third week, it's getting up into that 30 watt range. I've had these coils go to 4 or 5 weeks before it just gets a horrible burnt taste and I can't do anything about it. So that's going to be the Kanger Tech subtanks. With the Aspire Atlantis, the version 1, that's going to come with a replacement gas and a 0.5 ohm, 2 0.5 ohm coils. Then they have the Atlantis version 2. Now with this one, it does have a removable drip tip, but you can't put a normal 510 drip tip in there. They did just start selling adapters that you can pop in here, so you can use your own drip tip. Right out of the box, you can't use your own drip tip. This is going to come with a 0.3 and a 0.5 ohm coil. And then both of these are going to hold like 2.3 mils, I believe. They might have bumped this one up to right around 3 mils on the 2. But then they have the Atlantis Mega. This is going to fit on a lot of like 26-650 devices. By the way, both of the Atlantises, the version 1 and the version 2, are both 22mm. Fit really great on all those devices. I believe this is either 28 or maybe even a little bit bigger. It fits flush on the Aspire Carbon Fiber Max battery. It's actually kind of designed to go with that one. This one's actually going to come with a 0.5 ohm coil and a 1 ohm coil. So Aspire now has 3 coils you can use, a 0.3, a 0.5, and a 1 ohm coil. You can use any of those coils in any of these tanks. Excuse me. The resistances are a little bit weird though. These coils are quite power hungry. I've noticed with the 0.5 ohms, those are really happy right around like 30 to 40 watts. The 0.3s I've been seeing 40 to 70. And then 1 ohms, for some reason, really, I haven't seen them come to life too much until they really hit like 40 watts. So you figure higher resistance, you could run lower wattage. Something with the way they made the coil, though, I at least haven't been able to get a good experience at lower wattages. So that's going to be the Aspire sets right there. You have the Delta 2 from Joytech. They also have the Ego 1. Which you can get the Ego 1 set. Also, an Ego 1 Mega tank comes on the eVic VT that's coming out, or is out, excuse me. And the Ego 1, those are, Ego 1 and Ego 1 Mega, those are going to use different coils. The Delta 2, although the bodies on them are fairly similar and the airflow is fairly similar, the Delta 2 has a coil that's fairly unique. It actually has juice flow control on it, so you can actually, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but you can actually cut the juice control off a little bit. So depending on what viscosity of juice you're using, you can change that. So like if you're using a 50-50, when I was using a 50-50 at least, you cut that hole off pretty good. Then where you're using 75, 80 VG, even up to 90s worked just fine. I think I even put a 95 VG in there and worked pretty okay. I did have to have that juice slot pretty opened up though. So with the Delta 2, that's been pretty happy. Once again, right around that 30 to 40 range, so a little bit higher. So those are all devices that are going to, all the tanks that I just mentioned, those are going to work really well on 30 to 50 watt devices, somewhere around there. Some of the other tanks, or some of these tanks like the Aspires and the Delta 2, I would personally recommend having at least a 50 watt device. But you can get away with using a 30 watt device on it, somewhere around that area, and you will get a good performance off of it. These next 4 tanks that I'm going to talk about, on the other hand, they're really power hungry. These are the super high voltage tanks, at least with the lower resistance coils. Some of the 0.5 ohm coils, stuff like that, they're still running right around that 40 marker. The 0.2s, the 0.3s, those types of coils, though, those tend to be up at 70 watts plus. So all of these, I recommend having bare minimum 70 watt device. I think that that's the bare minimum to run these tanks on, or at least the available power, minimum available power that you should use if you own one of these tanks. The other thing though is with a 0.2 ohm coil, if you're using it on a mechanical, not a hybrid. Never use one of these tanks on a hybrid. Do not do it. Just don't. It's so dangerous. All these stories of batteries blowing up, and why it's becoming a little bit more prevalent is because people are using these tanks that have a movable positive pin on something where it's coming in contact with the battery itself. As soon as that positive pin sinks down and the battery is able to touch the positive pin and the negative threading, you're going to dead short the battery, and that becomes a bomb really quickly. So don't do it. But if you are going to be using mechanical with a pin that is safe, obviously whenever you're using mechanical, you're the safety precaution. So if you aren't 100% comfortable on what you're doing, save up your pennies, buy a regulated device. It's not worth blowing your face off to save a couple bucks. People might say that I'm blowing things out of proportion, but working at a vape shop, you see a lot more things, and some of the stuff that comes in is just remarkably dangerous, and we try and point people in the right way. So please, guys, there's so many different options out there, and they're becoming a lot more cost effective. So mechanicals aren't necessarily the way to go. If you have a mechanical and you don't know how to use it, you're not 100% comfortable on how to use it, do your research before you use it, or try and trade it or sell it for a regulated device that has those protections that you don't need to be super up on. With mechanicals, though, you need to know everything about Ohm's law, or else you can get in trouble really quickly. Past that, just electricity in general. Over tightening a tank and it blowing up on you, that has nothing to do with Ohm's law. That's just a dead short on it. So please, guys, be careful with these. But if you are going to use a mechanical, these 0.2 ohm coils, really good. So, okay, done with the rant for Austin. Let's get into these new tanks, or the higher powered tanks, I should say. So we'll start off with the Starre tank, S-T-A-R-R-E from Freemax. I believe this is going to come with a 0.5, yes, a 0.5 and a 0.25 coil. 0.5, once again, right around 40. 0.25, 70 plus. Honestly, not really going to talk about the wattage on these. There's tons of other videos talking about the wattage on it. I will mention kind of the area. So this is right around 70. 5 mil tank. Been pretty happy with this guy. Moving up here, we've got the Herakles. Nice big tank. The Starre is going to have about the biggest capacity. 5 mils is going to be about as big as you can get with these tanks, aside from the subtank. But as far as those high-powered devices, the 70 plus wattage, that Starre tank's probably going to be about as big as you can get. We've got the Herakles here. Once again, let's see what these guys come with. A 0.6 and I believe a 0.3 ohm atomizer. Let me double check on that for you. Actually, it looks like both of these are 0.6 ohm coils. I believe you can buy 0.3 ohm coils for the Herakles. Don't quote me on that, though. So it looks like it comes with 2.6 ohm coils. I've heard of people running this tank pretty high. I personally haven't used this tank, so I'm not 100% on how high the wattage you can run on it. I do know it is a very high wattage device, though, so if you have an iStick 50 or something that's 50 watts or lower, once again, really wouldn't recommend using it on a tank like this. We've got the Arctic. This is one of my personal favorite tanks. Actually, my biggest gripe about this tank is that every time I look at it, it's empty, actually. So I love this tank, love the airflow about it. The heat's just insane off of this thing. This 0.2 ohm coil running at about 70 watts. I was running a 0.2 ohm dripper at right around 111 watts. And once I started using this at 70 watts, I had to bump that up to like 130, almost 140 watts on that 0.2 ohm dripper. So this can be a remarkably hot vape. I like a hot vape, so if you're looking for a hot vape, you can definitely get the heat out of this one with that 0.2 ohm coil running right around 70 watts. I will say with the Arctic tank, since I have had a decent bit of experience with this, haven't had much luck above 70 watts. Once I get up to like 75, just has that kind of hot humidifier flavor to it. Granted, I haven't put a ton of different juices in there. I'm not a huge custard guy, so some of those custards that can really handle the heat really well, you might be able to get this up higher, but with the juices that I was using, I wasn't able to get it much higher than 70 watts. So that's the Arctic, comes with a 0.5 and a 0.2 as well. Last tank that we're going to talk about here is the Matrix tank. Massive airflow. Let's see here, coil resistance, get a 0.2 and I believe a 0.6. Yep, 0.6 and a 0.2. The 0.2 coil, we were playing around with it for a few minutes. We really weren't able to get it to come to life until over 100 watts. So you want to talk about, I mean, if you're really looking for a tank that's power hungry and can handle the heat, this Matrix tank, I've heard a lot of positive response on 100 watt plus. I've heard a couple people say that the Starre tank from Freemax has been able to hit 125, 135 watts. I haven't done it myself, and I've only heard one or two people say that they're able to do that. The Matrix tank, on the other hand, I've heard a plethora of people say that it really comes to life at 100 watts plus. So if that's what you're looking for, this might be the tank for you. So, alright guys, that's going to be the sub-tanks. All of them have adjustable airflow in their own rights. They all have their own coils. I believe only the Delta 2 has the juice flow control to it. But with all of these coils, you need to prime them before you start vaping on them. If there's any dry spot on these coils and you vape on it, it's going to burn that coil or whatever the dry spot is, whether it be cotton. Most of these are using cotton at this point. But it's going to burn that cotton, and that burnt flavor is never going to go away. So we need to really make sure that these coils are fully saturated, fully primed up before we start vaping on these. So let's go ahead and jump down in. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to prime a subtank coil, actually. And that'll be able to translate to basically any of these coils and make sure that you're getting a satisfactory vape right off the beginning, guys. So let's go ahead and jump down in. We'll go ahead and take a look at that, and we'll finish this up. Alright, here we are in close to show you how to prime up one of these subtank coils. I'm going to use a Kanger subtank coil, a half ohm in particularly. So let's go ahead and open it up. What you're going to need to do this is obviously juice. You're going to need your coil, and then you're going to need a Kleenex as well. That's definitely going to help. So on these coils, just zoom this out just a little bit so I can get a little bit better in here. So on these coils, there's going to be all this airflow at the bottom right here. So we're going to go ahead and block that off with a Kleenex here. I just get that nice and tightly wrapped around the base there. And today we're using Deuce's Wild at 4 milligrams of nicotine from the Wild card. This is our top shelf juice. Come check it out. Stuff's great. The Deuce's Wild's an orange cream, so we're going to go ahead and prime it up with this. So basically, to prime it up, what we're going to start doing is dripping juice in the top here. And we're going to continue doing that until juice starts to come out of these little holes right here. So I'm just going to start dripping in the top here. You can see I'm doing it fairly slowly. Now at this point it's kind of topped off. You can kind of see that juice reflecting on the top there. So once that soaks down just a little bit, I'll actually start pressing my finger on the top a little bit, and that helps create a little bit of pressure inside of it. So we can see that juice is now coming out of those holes. Let me touch my pinky on there and see the juice shining right there. On this side, that one's a little bit easier to see the liquid. Once again, you can see it on my finger there. So once we do that, we're going to go ahead and block up all the airflow on the bottom as well as these holes on the side there. So just that top part is showing, and we're going to go ahead and blow the coil out. So and just blow till it feels like nothing else is coming out in there. I do a pretty heavy blow on it. And so you can still see that the juice is still fairly saturated into the coil there. So let's go ahead and throw it into a tank and vape on it. Alright guys, so we have our fully primed up coil right here. I have it set on 25 watts right now. Let's go ahead and see how she vapes. Feels pretty good to me. Once again, Deuce is Wild, nice orange cream sickle. I'm running it at 4 nicotine. If you are jumping to a subtank, the vapor production, you get about 4 times the vapor production out of it. So your nicotine becomes a lot more efficient. I recommend cutting it about in half. So if you're running a 24, go to a 12. If you're running a 12, go to a 6. So kind of follow that to start out with, and then do the finite adjustments. Because everybody's different. I mean, just because you're vaping on 24 right now doesn't mean that you're not gonna be vaping on 24 on one of these tanks. I've seen it. It's happened. Although it's rare, I've seen it happen. So let's go ahead and take one more puff and finish this up. Alright guys, so if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and throw them down. Other than that, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube for more great videos, and like us on Facebook to keep up on all the newest stuff. You guys have a great day. Bye.